And the question is, as the parents of a 1.5-year-old, given the state of society, what should I do? The first thing the single most important thing you have to realize is that your child was born for a purpose and it's their karma. And there's no accidents. And if they didn't want to be here right now as your child, they wouldn't be. So there's no fault here. And however that child's life turns out, they're following the path they have to follow for their own realization. Of course, we become extremely attached. And there's no separation. I believe Isha was talking about, the cells for the mother. Actually, you have a cellular unity that never dissipates. It's beyond imagination. That's why we speak of Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, because that's the power we're trying to get across. First thing you have to start with is, this is it. You've chosen to have a child, and therefore you will never be free of that relationship, ever. It's just going to be the fabric and the nature of your life. You have made yourself vulnerable, and you will never be invulnerable again. And we live with this. I mean, people are often imagining, they talk about healing and so on like that. You do heal, but you're never the same. The heart breaks. It has a broken place in it. Something wounds you so deeply. That's just the way it always is, ever thereafter. But isn't that wonderful? We don't just sit there like a lump of stone and never change. We have experiences and we change. Once you have a child, you'll never be the same. Self-definition is, this is my son, this is my daughter. I am a father, I am a mother. After that, you are there to serve the destiny of your child. You are not creating it. And I think the single most important thing is, when I've been trying to help someone and I haven't known what to do, something that has really worked for me is, I not only ask Divine Mother what I should do, because Mother knows best. I ask the soul of the person I'm trying to help. I literally pray to them. I don't just pray for them, I pray to them. You have a destiny. You have a superconscious nature. You have a divine self. You know why you're here. And the human self might not remember, but the divine self does. And so you ask constantly, how can I help you? And you'll find, and because the mere fact that your baby's only 1.5 years old, but the soul is ageless. This little girl, when Swami came to visit our school once, one of the times he came to visit, he already looked like an older man. He had gray hair and so on. And there was this little 8-year-old girl, and she became very interested in him. She kept moving closer and closer because Swamiji looked a lot like a grandfather, but his energy was so different, and she could feel it. She was sensitive enough to feel it. And she kept kind of edging toward him, got closer and closer, finally just looked him really in the face at fairly close range and said, "How old are you anyway?" And he said to her, because he always spoke to the soul of people appropriately, he said, "Well, I'll put it this way. When I was a little boy, you were an old woman." And she sort of looked at him for a minute, and then it just clicked in her mind, oh, and then she just went happily off. But that's the truth of it. When he was a little boy, she was an old woman. Now he was an old man, and she was a young child. And they've just been trading places. It's just been the way it always was. A little boy, the children go through the phase where they're always knocking things over. The milk at the dinner table is the classic way. And there was this little boy knocking the milk over at the dinner table for the 5th time in a row. And the father became so impatient with him and, can't you be more careful? And the little boy looked at his father and said, "When you were the little boy and I was the daddy, I didn't yell at you." Out of the mouths of babes. But that's exceedingly important. Don't lose sight of the fact for a split second that this is in a child's body, is a fully developed consciousness. And you don't know what that child is trying to do. So you have to constantly be asking, where are you trying to go and how can I help you get there? And don't be stupid, because there's also the rightness of the relationship. But then you have to also really ask yourself really deeply, what are the secrets of happiness? And therefore you have to share with the child whatever wisdom you may have. Nowadays people think you're not supposed to say anything. It's just, and kids are raised with no context. You just honestly and sincerely, I mean, somewhat the way that I try to share with all of you. I'm not trying to persuade you. I'm just telling you what my experience has been and see if it resonates with you. So you should be completely unafraid to tell your child everything that you believe is true and why you believe it, and to raise them with a sense of greater reality. Because what the whole problem of this world today is that people just have their ego selves, and all accomplishment is defined externally. We have a school where I live, and we founded a school. We have 30 years for the lower school and 10 years for the high school we've been. And I've been involved in it. For the first 7 years, I was the admissions director, just because, in fact, the phone for the school was on my kitchen counter. And whatever was going on, because that was all before cell phones, I would just pick it up, whatever was happening, and I would say, we called it Ananda School then, it's now called Living Wisdom School. Ananda School, this is Asha, can I help you? And I would, tell everybody around me to be quiet, so that I could pretend. I had this woman who came to put her 5-year-old, or I think 4-year-old, into our kindergarten, our pre-K at that point. She was an accomplished Silicon Valley kind of person. She intuitively felt that her child belonged with us, but she was so worried, literally, she's weeping on my shoulder, that putting her 4-year-old into our kindergarten will hurt her child's chances of getting into Harvard. And I have to pretend that this is not the most lunatic thing I've ever heard. I have to pretend that, yes, I understand, but, mother's intuition and so on like that. Just to carry it farther, mother developed a brain tumor. By the time the child was 7 or 8, the mother, she was the only child, the father, we became so integral to that family. I was there when the woman breathed her last. She invited us in. He invited us in to help her die and then we took the child through the grief of all of that. What are we thinking? We're just making all these plans out of nothing. And the second thing, the most important thing is, what do you need to be a successful person? It's not about getting into Harvard. It's knowing where happiness comes from. It's being part of a greater reality. It's having good character. It's understanding the importance of truth. It's having courage in the face of obstacles. That's what matters, especially now, more than ever now. Start with AI. Information as a definition of education is off the table. So you can memorize all the things you want to memorize. It'll get you nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. It just means nothing. The only thing that matters is who you are and what you're carrying. And that's what you need to think about. Who is my child? Who are they trying to become? How can I help them live from inside with authenticity and strength? And just do your best, because you're not creating the destiny of that child. That's the thing you have to understand. I am involved in this huge issue that has to be settled in my community, the one I'm in that I helped start and so on. For about 2 years, I was scared all the time because I thought everything depended on me, that I was the full determining factor. One morning I woke up and thought, what is wrong with you? You think you're that important? So you will influence the destiny of your child, that's a fact. And for your karma, you need to do it very, very conscientiously. But whenever you start getting scared, that alone, that's about the worst thing you can do for your child. Because then your brain just becomes oatmeal and you can't do anything right. So you have to have deep faith in God. You have to have very deep faith in God. And it's a good idea to remind yourself that Divine Mother is the true mother here. A woman friend of mine, she was a single mom who raised a son who turned into be a great big man. You know, he was powerful and he's a very good man. She used to do affirmations for him. She would do in her meditation, she would repeat Master's affirmations for him. When he was about 13 or 14, suddenly he became very upset with her, just was arguing with her all the time. And as was her habit, she prayed. And she realized he was feeling the imposition of her ideas onto his consciousness. And so she said, Divine Mother, I have care for him in this life, but he's your child. So I'm not going to be telling him who he ought to be, even though these are good ideas. Now I'm just going to say, Divine Mother, I give him to you. You guide him and guide me how to be a perfect mother to him, a perfect father to him. That's the single most important thing you can do. Then you'll see what happens. After that, be interested. Most of all, be interested. It's an adventure together. And the world is falling to pieces. Yes. We have no idea if it's going to be business as usual. We could be in horrible circumstances. She was born for these times. Is a daughter or son? Daughter. She was born for these times. So you think it's an interruption of what could happen for her, but for her, it's the purpose that she was born. And you need to prepare her for that, which is relationship with God. Strength comes from inside. One last thought just about the externalness. There's a very, very popular school in our area, super popular. When we first started, we went to see. It's been very funny over these 30 years because we would start writing, the things that we were doing in our school, publicizing it, and it all sounded really good, and other people started picking it up. We would literally see our own ideas, except with all due respect, they had no idea how to do it because they really weren't grounded as we were. So we go to the school. Now self-esteem is really important, so they're teaching self-esteem. Yes, 25 minutes once a week, we teach self-esteem. I mean, in itself, that's a mad idea, but we have our self-esteem class, So they made this tree, just artwork, this tree, the branches of the tree, and every child has a leaf, and they write on the leaf why they have self-esteem, and they put their leaf on. There were like 30 leaves on the tree, 29 of them. One leaf said, 29 of them were about what they were accomplishing externally. I got 100% on my test. I'm the captain of this team. I got chosen for that. I got this award. I think, what happens when the company fires you because they're cutting it in half and you don't have a job anymore? And your self-esteem is because I have this job. What if you become injured and you can't be the great skier that you were anymore and your self-esteem is on being... it's not only not helpful, it's actively against what is really going to help that child. One leaf said, I'm not as emotional as I used to be. But, my child might not get into Harvard. She's 4 years old, for heaven's sakes. It's like, where is our brain? Okay, enough. I can rant on this for a really long time. But you asked, and you have the opportunity, because you're sitting in this room, obviously you understand. So make your parenting an integral part of your spiritual life. What are you devoted to? You're devoted to her well-being. But what is her well-being? And the answer is the same as for you. So just behave accordingly. And don't get hypnotized by this crazy world around us. This is our job. And you've been given a child who's going to take this planet into the future. So do your best to inspire her with a vision of light. And if she turns out to be something else, well, that's her destiny. Just enjoy it. There you are. A couple in our community, their teenage boy started really acting up. And they got very concerned. And they went to Swami Kriyananda and they said, he's just doing this and he's doing that. And he said to them, well, sometimes parents have to realize they just got a lemon. And they just went, They could hardly breathe. And he let them have that for a moment. Because why would you think you won't get a lemon? Somebody gets a lemon, right? It happens. And then he said, but I don't think so. And in fact, he went through it. He grew up to be a very, very fine man. But, they have their own destiny. Sometimes a child has a very difficult destiny. It's not your destiny, it's theirs. And your destiny is to trust God no matter what comes, to accept what happens.